children and the founder of the Parent Leadership Training Institute. For those of you who I haven't met yet, I want to share how this all started. It started in this city, so that's sort of fun. And when I was originally hired by the state of Connecticut to create an integrated early childhood system and arrived from California, what became very, very clear was that a lot of people were missing in the design of a system for children. There were, mayors were missing, Park and Rec was missing, children's librarians were missing, city council was missing, and of most importance, parents were missing. And I wanted to figure out why parents weren't at the table in designing policy for children. And I wanted to figure out if that was a problem that was Connecticut's or a problem that was national. How many people in your city or state hear people say it's hard to get parents to the table? Can I see your hand? How many people actually, wherever you are, experience that parents actually aren't at the table when children's policies or programs are being made? Okay, so it seemed like we had a real problem because the customer was missing. How can you design program and policy for children and have the primary customer, the parent, not at the table? So we went for a year and a half around this date, and we spoke to parents. We asked them all the same questions, but the way we designed it was very relaxed and informal, so it didn't feel like a study to parents, but we did ask the same questions every time. And we did it in English, Spanish, Portuguese, and Polish. And I went to every one of these meetings. And we served dinner, and we provided childcare, because we were trying to make it so there would be no obstacle in the way. And what happened was, parents, you could predict it. Parents were shy, they didn't know each other, and we didn't cream. So we didn't invite parent leaders to this meeting. Parents came from the community who had never come to a meeting before because they were told that this meeting would be parents sharing their concerns for children in the state of Connecticut and having an impact on the state level. So parents came out of the woodwork. And we provided dinner, and people were shy, and then they started laughing, and then they started laughing more, and then they started sharing, and then there were these questions, and the questions were, what concerns you about kids today? Do you think it's different now than it was 5 years ago? Why? What do you think needs to happen? Very basic, core questions to help improve things. And the conversation, you could chart it. The conversation started tentative, got better, exciting, interesting, and the amazing thing happened that suddenly changed my life personally, which was that at the point that parents had ideas, and at the point that parents began to decide, wow, we do need more childcare, or we do need to do this, or we do need to do that, someone in the room would say, but I'm just a parent. And the whole room would deflate like a balloon. And guess what? It happened every single time at every single meeting. You could think, maybe this is like some person who's just a negative person saying, but I'm just a parent at the point of excitement. But it happened every time. And the people who said it, they actually weren't naysayers. And that line, but I'm just a parent, how many have heard anybody say, but I'm just a parent? Raise your hand. So this sentence became for me a very important sentence to try to understand. If it came up every point of collective impact, what was happening? And what became pretty clear was that parents have been taught that we don't have a right to make change in our country. Parents have been taught that we are not a serious constituency and that if we are to lead, we better not. We better stop because it is not allowed. This is occurring, and I tested this after this research in Connecticut around the country, and what became eminently clear is unlike any other policy domain in our country, this is the only social policy domain where the customer is left out. And you gotta wonder, when did we all learn that we shouldn't lead as parents publicly? When did that happen? What made that okay? And why didn't anybody get upset about it? And who actually is making the decisions for children? And would it be any different if parents actually were partners in the decision making? So I went back to the parents in Connecticut and said, how about if I create a lobby for you or some sort of entity that you can lead in? And parents said, no, we don't want that. We want you to teach us how it really happens. So I pushed back because I thought, let's create some sort of entity for parents to have a lobby. But parents said no, so okay. So I said, so what is it you want to learn? And parents said, we want to learn who's really in charge. We want to learn how the money works. We want to learn how to talk publicly. Some parents said, some, not all. We want to learn how to work with parents who are different from us. Some parents said, we want to learn what the problems are, how to get rid of the obstacles so we can improve things for our children. And so then what we did was we thought, let's make a school for parents that teaches parents what they want to learn. And also, let's add some things that maybe parents didn't say. And so the question was, and the personal question for me, that I'm sure is the question for you, is what do parents need to know to be taken seriously as leaders? And then if you add to the mix institutional racism, what does a parent need to know so when they get in front of a microphone in a city hall, they'll be taken seriously? What message do they need to give with their words so that the leaders go, oh, better listen to this? What do they need? And so we spent a significant amount of time interviewing leaders around the country, saying to them, one, what do you think is really necessary for change, to learn how does change happen in our country for children, one. And two, what do you think the skills are that parents would need? And three, what do you think the skills are that parents would need who face profound bias? And are there additional skills that would be necessary that we should teach without necessarily making a deal about it, but just build into our curriculum so that we were trying to deal with every possible obstacle we could? So that, my friends, is what we built. And then a woman came along who I love, Katina Cavanoan, and she's from the eastern part of the state and an educator, Puerto Rican leader. And she said, this is really great what you're doing. It's really great, but it's not going to work. And we've been working on it now for a couple of years, building this, designing. She said, it's not going to work. And this was very brave. She was brave. She came like a lion, She was a little and a lion. And so she said, the reason it's not going to work is because people are taught, particularly people of color, and sometimes women in general, are taught that they don't have a right to lead. So there will be an internalized sense for some that they can learn this stuff, but they're not going to use it. So I asked Katina, who I came to respect immediately because she was a lion, I asked her if she would help me write the curriculum so we could address this. And we made two promises: no political correctness and no psychotherapy. Yes. So she then helped, she said yes, and she was masterful, brave, and deeply committed to this. And so she helped me design a curriculum that addressed obstacles that had to do with bias. She helped write a curriculum that was honest and talked about things we don't talk about in this country right up front. She helped with the process and dynamics so that it could be safe very quickly. She helped it go very deep And she and I wrote this curriculum really on a napkin, and we tested it in Hartford. And we spread the word in Hartford, and at the time, it was a 10-week curriculum. And people were nasty. People said, oh, no one's gonna come. It's Hartford. This is poor parents. Poor parents aren't gonna come. And we had a waiting list. Nobody dropped out. Everybody came for 3 hours every week plus dinner. The business sector in our city gave us the hospital to hold the meetings, gave us the parking, gave us the cafeteria, and Hartford Steam Boiler said, this is so important what you're doing for democracy. You design this, we'll raise the money. So the business sector in this city that you're in now pooled their resources through the American Leadership Forum so that we didn't have to worry about that and we could just move it forward. So the city leadership came on board. They gave us their facilities. The parents came on board. It was multiracial, and we didn't plan it, but Katina's bilingual, and many people from Hartford who came were African American and Hispanic. And when a parent might need translation, Katina just did it off the cuff. Word spread in the community that this was real. And what happened, and we provided childcare, we provided dinner, and it was really fun to be in the hospital and the cafeteria because the children had dinner with us, and they got to pick their Jell-O and whatever they wanted, and everything was free. It was really fun. And at the end of 10 weeks, the parents in Hartford said, this is too short. Wow. They said, you need to make this longer because this is real. And so it was the parents in Hartford, all parents in poverty, all who came for 3 hours and dinner and brought their children, who had this model go from 10 weeks to 20. Those of you who are here to learn the curriculum will have opportunity to learn what we created because you will study phase 1 and phase 2. What we're going to do over the next 3 days, over really the next 2 days, is that some of us are going to model classes. You will be parents in the class. Then we will stop and deconstruct what happened so that you are learning the whys and hows of how we designed it and what comes out of it and what you can expect if you're doing this optimally. We then had to learn, because what happened very quickly was word spread. And other cities in Connecticut wanted it, and other towns. And then what happened was other states wanted it. So then Rhode Island came in, and then New York came in, and then other cities and states around the country, and then sovereignties. So the model is now at the Wind River Indian Reservation with the Shoshone and the Northern Arapaho, 2 different tribes. And then we needed to learn how to adapt it, and so now it's also in Spanish, and it's in Haitian Creole in Florida. So we've learned to translate it, we've learned to adapt it. In Colorado and in Wyoming, rural parents said, this needs to change a little bit. We don't need to learn about our elected officials. We know them all, they're our friends. Like, can we change the curriculum? So we adapted a rural curriculum. So we've learned to adapt, but we've kept the core pieces because we learned what made this work. We also, and we'll talk about this over the next 3 days, came to learn how to evaluate it and what the methods were of how to evaluate parent leadership, because there are no standards in parent leadership in our country. Pause. Hear that? There are no standards. Partially there's no standards because there's not enough of it, and partially there's no standards because people don't want it. Because if there were parent leadership, the country would change. And some of the people who are in charge of things wouldn't be. And some of the people who are in charge of things would need to learn how to partner And so that's what we're trying to do, is to partner, and that's why we are so thrilled to partner with the National League of Cities, because mayors who care about this and are realizing the gains to having parents as partners so they can actually know what is and isn't working for children, want to learn how to do this. So we're working both with parents and with the leaders who want to partner. And so we have states who want to partner, cities, and some nonprofits, and many of you represent that. And so over the next 3 days, we'll talk about the values, the research. We'll spend some time on the evaluation and the outcome data. I think what we see, without my taking the time now, because I'm going to close out now, but when you look at the data, you see that 90% of the graduates work across difference once they graduate. You'll also see that there's a 2/3 increase in civic skills. Who's in charge, how the budget works, what policy is. The one that I love, that's very dear to my heart, is the doubling of skills for those who now know how to address a problem in a community, and the doubling of skills for parents because they now know what to do and where to go to get information. Because you may not have the skill, but if you know where to go. And then the other thing that's pretty profound is the incredible social network, the increase in the social network. Because maybe I have 3 friends, then I come to PLTI, then I have 10 friends, then I leave, but then I start using my network, and the next thing you know, my network is 800. And now, thanks to Daphna and Michael, we have parents talking to each other across the United States. There's 7,000 graduates now. They include, in our state, 2 graduates in the legislature, graduates on school boards, graduates on city council, and not everybody, and it shouldn't be this way, end up doing something elected. But people are changing and improving the quality of programs and policies for children in health, safety, and learning across the United States. So we welcome you because you will now be part of this network. Thank you.